Ladies and gentlemen of the internet jury, we are gathered here today to discuss whether or not DMZ is any damn good at all. Now, I am here to tell you that despite its many flaws, DMZ is actually incredibly fun. In no way do I think that it has anything to do with Tarkov. There are two very vague references to something that I would say is Tarkov-esque, being the dog tags, which CoD really originated, and the second being the extraction, thus coining the extraction shooter genre is the house that Tarkov built. Yes, I know that Dark Zone existed, but The Division, in my opinion, was an absolute trash heap of a game. Ubisoft can rot. F The Division. Dark Zone sucked. Tarkov, okay? They're the kings. I'm sorry, but that's just the opinion of me. I'm a boomer on the internet, talking head. All right, everybody can disregard my opinion. Nothing matters. Let's just move on from this, shall we? The idea behind DMZ is that it was going to be something that would hopefully capture some of that Tarkov extraction shooter style loving audience. The people that play Hunt Showdown, the people that play Tarkov, the people that play The Cycle, guys that like to play Dark and Darker, etc., etc., etc. Did it do a good enough job doing that? In my opinion, short, yes, I think it did. Now, for those of you that want to know my reasonings behind that, I will get into that, but if you're looking for the TLDR, DMZ is really effing fun. Comparing it to Tarkov is stupid, and if you compare it to Tarkov, you have a tiny wiener worth of energy and need to get good. Moving on from here, let's talk about the intricacies of DMZ, the things that I think DMZ does really well, and the things that DMZ does really poorly. There are both of those things, and then a bunch of stuff in between. I have been working with Surfshark for a very long time. They are my longest running sponsor ever, and for good reason. I genuinely love their product. For instance, if I wanted to be located in Paris, France to mask my IP, I can click on it and boom. I am now located in Paris, France. At least insofar as would-be ne'er-do-wells would be concerned. See, this is done via what is called IP masking, where it masks my IP address and creates another hop so that people can't find out my personal geolocation, they can't steal my identity as easily. It just adds another layer of protection, especially in 2022, when we see people getting knocked over all the time for data. And you might say, hey, Onepeg, that's all fine and good, but what about the rest of the malware out there? Well, Surfshark has something for that too. If you go to Clean Web here in the VPN settings and just turn on this radio button, now you have that blocked. It blocks malware, tracking cookies, other forms of malicious advertisements that would otherwise try to steal your data from you. And while rated one of the fastest VPNs available on the market, Surfshark is also one of the least expensive, and it got more inexpensive, I don't know which one that is. It is less expensive. For the months of November and December, it is now 85% off, plus an additional 3 months absolutely free, which works out to be about $2 a month if you follow the link in the description and use code ONEPEG on checkout. And if that isn't good enough, the license is unlimited. Not only unlimited for yourself, but if you chose to give the gift of protection to your loved ones, you can do so with just this singular license. That is a good deal. They offer a 30-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee for anyone that is dissatisfied. So what are you waiting for? Give them a shot. Let me know what you think in the comments. And again, a special thank you to the folks at Surfshark for sponsoring yet another video. I appreciate you guys so very much. Things that I think DMZ does well. DMZ is a very fun experience. The loading times are really short. You have the ability to build out a custom gun. There is a cooldown on whether or not that custom gun can be used again, whether or not you die with it, obviously. The cooldown for being able to use that custom gun a second time boils down to a 10-hour timer that you whittle away based on whether or not you extract with anything of monetary value. Now, this does have a bit of a diminishing return associated with it, so being able to get out with a lot of cash doesn't matter as much as getting out really often with some cash. Over the course of 2.5 to 3 hours that I played with Mr. Gibbon and GMAC, we had the ability to extract a whole lot of times. In fact, I didn't die even once, so I never experienced what it was like to have to take in a contraband gun. However, we were in a 3-man stack. Even though you have the ability to play as a duo or even a solo, that's going to be a little bit harder when you're coming across 3-man squads trying to drop them on your own. Not very easy. Moving on from here, there are an awful lot of scripted events. For instance, you could be randomly walking along and there are little secret events that will pop up along the way. The map shows an awful lot and does an awful lot of hand-holding, but it's not everything. For instance, there is a boss on the map that people don't realize exists in secret that drops a secret gun that the only way to unlock is by killing him, looting the gun, having it on you, and extracting with it. Check out the TikTok because it will be there in really short form. I know how much you guys love your short form videos, so follow me on TikTok. We'll get that up there for you, okay? Okay. The Adrenaline Rush. There is one. It's a 64-player map. While it uses the Warzone 2.0 map that has a capacity of 152 players if you're playing Warzone with the addition of the AI, my assumption is they reduce the number of squads and try to slow the pace down by having all of these AI and different interactions. There's an abundance of AI, there's an abundance of things to do, and there's a ton of scripted events. We found a key at one point, decided that we were going to go to this post office because we found a post office key. We're like, let's go to the post office and see what kind of loot there is. We went, tons of loot, gobs of loot, cool guns, lots of crazy enemies to fight. It was really, really hairy. Then we decided, okay, well, let's go and try and see if we can track down this other weapons case that suddenly popped up on the map. And we went and did that and got this really crazy skin for this AK. And it looked awesome. And the VoIP interaction is probably my favorite part of this. Proximity VoIP is nothing new to games, especially shooters. But the coolest part about the proximity VoIP is that if you decide that you and another squad are going to become friends, you have the ability to invite them. You can bring up this action wheel, and one of the options when you're in close enough proximity is to invite said player to join your squad. And they will, via the UI, physically, in-game, join your squad. Their name shows up, they're now part of the UI, they have their own little color-coded thing, and you can invite, if you're a 3-man, you can invite up to another 3 people and make yourself have a bona fide 6-man team that you can then communicate with in-game, in VoIP. Really cool. That makes for some really interesting and fun interactions with other gamers to where you don't just have to murder each other all the time. Physically, in-game, mechanically squad up with each other and become like this nice little cohesive ball. That's kind of awesome. Oh, holy shit. I like that mechanic. And there are all these other like little points of interest, all these little side missions that you can do. The map is full of them. It's crazy how many different things and different ways that you can go about playing this and the different directions that you suddenly end up going in just because you find a little radio on the ground. Or you decide that you're going to activate a SAM site, which then shoots down a cargo plane as it's flying overhead, which causes this giant crate to drop out of the cargo plane that you can then go and loot. And lo and behold, it has an airstrike score streak in it that you can use to then call in and wreck another player just because you decided that you were going to activate a SAM site and fire a missile into the air, or did it on its own. And then you just chase down the loot. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Lots of dynamism. Lots of it. For all of the cool things, the things that I did enjoy, and the things that made it fun, and the things that brought me a lot of laughs and a lot of smiles and a lot of entertainment, there's an awful lot of it that it does wrong. First, there does seem to be a lot of netcode jank. At one point in time, I got into a vehicle with one of my teammates. He's driving throughout the map. The map went to like 10 FPS, and even though my character model moved around fine, the movement through the map, because he was driving, made it look like that I was skipping every like 2 feet all the way down the road, and we skipped along for like 1,200 meters the entire way. It would look like a half-run, super fast slideshow, and I had to just look at the floor because honestly, I was getting motion sick from the slideshow that was going on, and so were a lot of people in chat. Now, that only happened once. Other times, there's been a lot of disconnect problems. The rejoining of your squad mates was completely bunk. Even now, granted, it's the first day, but even now, I can't click on my social tab inside of Call of Duty to see which one of my friends are online and invite them to parties. When I tried to do that with Gibbon, it actually ended up just booting me out to the main menu with no ability to invite them, only because I hovered my mouse over his name. That's a problem. That's UI-related issues that CoD is notorious for that it genuinely needed to fix and still hasn't. And a map of that size obviously will have some netcode and lag issues, and it had a lot of them. There were a lot. It wasn't so bad that I was like, wow, this is unplayable, but there were definitely noticeable moments where you hit some kind of like zonal wall or something where it moved from node to node on this server cluster that is housing these maps, and it had a little bit of a chug problem. And while the game does have tasks to do, go and find this, go and loot that, go and do this, go and do that, to try and like rank you up throughout the faction system that exists in the game. The factions, aside from cosmetics that I assume that you'd be able to get from leveling out the faction stuff and doing all of the tasks and missions and stuff, the factions and the money that you would get from them is completely meaningless. It has almost no purpose whatsoever. In fact, money is only used for 2 things. 1, to reduce the cooldown timer on the insured gun that you made custom in Gunsmith to bring in with you By extracting, like I said, an awful lot of times with the money that you have in hand, it reduces the cooldown by a little bit each time. And secondarily to that, it's to buy items inside of those raids. So you would start off with maybe your custom gun, but you have like a small backpack. You have the ability to go and buy a medium one or a large one if you want to. But aside from spending money on those items in-game or finding them in lockers or killing another guy and taking their stuff, that's the only way that you're getting your hands on those kinds of items. You don't buy them from a marketplace in-game, you buy them from the shop terminal like you would see in any other Warzone game. That, to me, aside from that and just being like a score system thing where you get a couple of extra like XP points from handing in a whole bunch of cash, it has no carryover. There's no holdover from getting a bunch of money. It's just arbitrary. There are missions where you're supposed to accumulate like 60,000 USD, but it's just a running total of you like looting valuable stuff and then taking that money and then cashing it in and buying stuff at the shop because it said to buy $60,000 worth of items. So you go and you do that and then that's it. And if you die, you lose your one backpack and then you start back off with your small backpack. You can't like hold on to a bunch of bags. The only items that you can hold on to are keys, because they have their own little like key stash that you can set it aside. But, and this is a piece that I actually like, if you decide that you're bringing a key into a map and you die with the key's gone. Now there's a lot of keys. They drop all the time. You find them everywhere. So that's not like really the end of the world, but you can't just like gamma container anything in the game at all is kind of nice. Dropping custom guns and dropping keys on the ground, I like that. I actually really like that mechanic. But the risk associated with doing that isn't real. It's not visceral. It doesn't have that immersive feel to it. There's no actual sense of loss because right now I have like 15 guns in my contraband stash and I'll just take something else in and kill people with it. And right now I also have my insurance on cooldown all the way. So unless I die 2 raids in a row over the course of, I don't know, however many, 2 hours or whatever, an hour and a half, unless I die 2 in a row, I'm just going to get another insurance slot off a cooldown and be able to build another M4. It's not really that big of a deal. So while the game mode is fun, it's really fun in the spirit of just being like, I like to shoot at stuff and that's fun for me, and I like PvP and that's fun for me. There's no real ranking system. There's no real building up of any stashes. There's no building up of any crafting stations. There isn't anything outside of cosmetics that you find on the map from extracting with special stuff or by leveling up factions. You get cosmetic items, gamer tags, you know, banners, like neat things. And you get some extra tokens for your battle pass. Those are the only things that I see that are really achievable or have any sense of achievement. In building up your character, it doesn't really do anything. If it's one thing that I know about people that enjoy games like Tarkov, it's the ability to be able to build up around the PvP and PvE aspects of it. None of those things are things that have a mechanical like equivalent inside of this game. So it's really just point, shoot, and extract. Get out with cool stuff if you can, but that cool stuff doesn't stick around because you just sell it off. Anyway, I'm rambling. Point being is that if you're somebody that really enjoys PvP, but you want like that little edgy, like tinge of risk, then this is the game that'll do that. It feels really good, and it flows well, it makes sense, and the combat is nice, and it's fun. It's fun. It is. Waves of enemies, all the big armored ones that are actually smarter with their AI play, and they'll rush you down and they use flank maneuvers and stuff. Like, that was actually really fun. But if you're somebody that wants, like, to feel the hurt, you're not going to find it here. There's no hurt to feel, in my opinion. It's not enough of it, which is, I guess, I'm glad that they said that this is being released as a beta. In my opinion, they need to make it feel like it hurts a little bit more than how it does. Otherwise, this game mode is going to be very short-lived because people are going to play through it and they're going to go like, yep, okay, neat. And that's going to kind of be it for them. Because in this case, if you want a rinse and repeat style of gameplay loop, you just go and play Warzone. You know what I mean? Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for coming and checking out the video. I genuinely appreciate it. Please consider giving me a follow on my socials at OnePegMG on Twitter, at OnePeg on TikTok, where I stream simultaneously every single day, starting around 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/OnePeg, and as always, on the old YouTube channel. YouTube, I love you. Please, if you would be so kind as to sub the channel, I would be very appreciative. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Peace. Neat things.